In an abandoned building, someone walks out of a mysterious big box. Meanwhile in Chicago, Jason says goodbye to his son Charlie and his wife Daniela before going to the university to teach his physics class. In the evening, the mysterious man from before enters a storage unit full of cash, cell phones, and other suspicious equipment. It's revealed this is Jason, and he takes notes on everything his family has done that day as if he was a stalker. He also keeps staring at a small container with liquid. Sometime later Jason goes to a bar to meet with his friend Ryan, who recently won a very important science award. While they drink to celebrate, Ryan asks Jason to join his new neurotech company. Jason's eager to agree but changes his mind when he hears the company is in San Francisco, since he doesn't want to leave his family. On his way home, Jason sees a call from his wife and declines it, which distracts him and almost gets him hit by a cab. Then he takes a dark alley and is approached by a masked man, who suddenly holds him at gunpoint to steal his wallet and his phone. Then the mugger forces Jason to get in a car and drive. During the trip, the mugger checks Jason's phone because somehow he knows the password and asks about Ryan by name. Eventually they make it to the abandoned building and the mugger hits Jason before throwing him on the ground to take his wedding ring. Next he makes Jason take off his clothes and guides him down the stairs. When Jason tries to fight back, the mugger easily overpowers him and throws him down before giving him an injection. Then the masked man makes Jason put on some clothes while he stares at a mysterious box until Jason passes out. When Jason wakes up, he's surrounded by bright lights and doctors. He's dizzy and confused, unable to speak even when they put him in a shower only to pass out again. Jason wakes later on a bed and when he tries to leave, he finds the door locked. Eventually he's visited by a woman named Amanda, who rushes to hug him. Jason doesn't recognize her, which hurts her to hear. Amanda explains all the tests indicate he's fine, so he's finally cleared from quarantine. Then she takes him to an office where he sees Layden, who he recognizes from his college days. Next Amanda starts a camera and says she's a lab psychiatrist while introducing Layden as the CEO and Jason as the chief science officer and co-founder. Suddenly Layden presses a button to reveal dozens of people outside the room cheering on Jason. Layden explains the team rushed in from the city to see him because he's the only one who's returned from the box. Jason still doesn't understand, so Amanda says he's been gone for 14 months. They want to know what happened to him, but the last thing Jason remembers is being at a bar with Ryan. He starts freaking out over the situation and when they try taking him back to his room, he pushes the others and runs away. The elevator allows him to lose the group and when he finds the front door closed, the guard opens it for him since he supposedly works here. As the alarm starts ringing, Jason jumps over a fence and runs through the forest to reach the city. Afterward Jason takes a cab while looking at the wallet and keys he found in those clothes. He uses those keys to enter his home, only to find Amanda there and all the things moved to different spots. Thinking he just has amnesia, Amanda explains they live together. Jason freaks out and calls out for Daniela and Charlie, but when he makes it to his son's room, he just finds an office and science award with his name. Next Jason tries to call Daniela but gets the wrong number, so he tries again, and only to be insulted. Amanda asks who Daniela is and Jason tells her she's his wife, but Amanda says he has no wife. As Jason continues to search the house and find weird things, Amanda makes a call for help. Soon Jason sees a truck arrive and screams at Amanda before running away through the back door. At the same time, the mugger leaves the mask and enters Jason's actual home wearing his clothes, revealing he also has his face. Jason too starts getting affectionate with Daniela and tells her about Ryan's offer, but he says he chooses her over a cold lab. They end up doing the dirty. Moments later, Jason hides in an alley so the truck won't see him, and once they're finally gone, he enters his usual bar. The bartender doesn't recognize him and kicks Jason out when he insists they're friends. Next Jason goes to the hospital and says he thinks there's something wrong with his mind, so they give him an MRI. He spends the night there and later the doctor brings the test results. They found a psychoactive compound in his toxicity screen that they'd never seen before. They also searched for the names Jason gave them, but they found nobody else with his surname in Chicago. The doctor starts reading Jason's biography from the internet and the beginning matches what he remembers, but things start to change and the article ends by saying Jason has been gone for over a year. He borrows her tablet and searches Daniela's maiden name to discover the address of her art show. After the doctor leaves, Jason steals a white coat to sneak around. Moments later Jason makes it to Daniela's art show and discovers there are lots of pictures of her youth but also himself. When he finally sees Daniela, he rushes to hug her and asks about Charlie, but she doesn't know what he's talking about. Then she leaves to keep welcoming guests and Jason notices Ryan is there too. While sharing a drink, Ryan asks about the compounds he made last year for Jason who doesn't know what he's talking about. Ryan gets angry but their conversation is interrupted by a speech from Daniela, who admits being curious about how her life could have turned out if she made different decisions and glances at Jason. After the exhibition is over, Jason and Ryan go to Daniela's apartment and they share a joint. Jason tells them what happened to him, and they aren't sure if he's lying or crazy. Then Jason asks why there were pictures of him at Daniela's art show. She explains they didn't see each other in years after their breakup and that one day he showed up talking about regrets, other worlds, and people's existence being about choices. He also mentioned a secret project and that Daniela would never see him again. A desperate Jason begins telling them about the life he knows with them and Ryan gets angry so he just leaves. Daniela lets Jason 1 stay the night and he takes a piece of twine from a shelf to tie around his finger like a wedding ring. The next morning Jason 1 calls Amanda and tells him he's about to walk into a mental hospital, so she leaves to find him. However, Jason lied and he's outside waiting with Daniela. Once Amanda is gone, they enter the house and Jason 1 starts mentioning all the differences. However, Daniela explains that when she got pregnant, he said he wanted a career, so they broke up and she got a pregnancy termination. An argument ensues and Daniela walks out, so Jason 1 grabs some things and follows her to apologize. After they return to Daniela's house, Jason 1 looks through Jason 2's notes and finally learns what happened. Jason 2 built a huge box that can make a person travel through the multiverse. He regrets not having chosen Daniela over work, so he used the box to go to Jason 1's universe and steal his life. Now Jason 1 is in Jason 2's universe to complete the switch. Meanwhile, Jason 2 is happily living Jason 1's life, although he has some trouble doing basic chores because he doesn't know where anything is. After breakfast he goes to college to teach Jason 1's class, scolding the students for not paying attention. Later in his car, Jason 2 calls Ryan and aggressively tells him not to call anymore because he isn't interested in his job offers and he won't be changing his mind soon. In the evening, Jason 2 goes to his storage unit and puts away his gun, the mysterious box, and the mask. Then he checks on the box and installs a security camera that he can look into from his phone. Back to Jason 1, he tells Daniela he put the twine around his finger so his wedding ring mark won't disappear, since it's the only proof he has that his memories are real. He shares some stories about his old life and they end up kissing. The moment is interrupted by the doorbell and the phone ringing, but when Daniela picks it up nobody answers. When Jason 1 tries the peephole, lab guard Dawn shoots the lock and bursts in. Daniela tries calling the police, so Dawn shoots her in the head before tasing Jason to tie him up. Moments later, Jason 1 is again locked up in the room at the company lab. Layden comes to see him, saying he takes the blame for what happened to Daniela but also that Jason has become a danger to himself and others, so he must stay there for now. The next day Detective Mason comes to the office to talk to Layden. She mentions the fact Jason and another employee called Blair disappeared and asks a bunch of questions. When Layden asks why he's being questioned, Mason tells him that Jason was seen at a hospital and an art show. Layden fakes surprise and swears Jason hasn't contacted him. Next Mason asks to talk to Amanda because she knows Jason and her were involved. Later after the interrogation, Amanda yells at Layden for what happened to Daniela and because she had to lie to the police. An argument ensues and it's revealed there are a bunch of employees missing, so with Jason's return the police may put the clues together soon. As Layden says he's desperate to know how Jason came back, Jason 1 announces he's ready to cooperate. Amanda and Layden come in with several security guards and Jason 1 explains he didn't tell anyone about this place because he doesn't even know where he is. He pretends he's Jason 2 with amnesia and calls Layden his friend, so his restraints are finally removed. Then Layden takes Jason 1 to see the box and Jason uses the notes he read early to pretend he does remember some things. Layden fills the gaps by explaining Jason 1 his award by discovering an adaptive shielding that stops anything trying to get through. As Jason looks inside the box, Amanda tells him he's the only person to go in and return. The other 3 employees that tried haven't returned, and recording devices don't work inside the box. Next Layden shows him the security footage of the night Jason 2 entered the box while nobody was around. Minutes later the lab techs open the box but Jason was already gone. And 3 days ago after more than a year of missing, Jason came out of the box. Afterward Jason 1 studies Jason 2's notes and asks Amanda about her role. She explains she's a psychiatrist who trains the box pilots and that they use the compound Ryan made for the box trips. Amanda confirms they're dating and the day before Jason disappeared, he was behaving strangely and went to see Daniela. Jason 1 begins wondering if he truly is insane or if he's not the person everyone thinks he is, causing a disturbed Amanda to leave the room. Then Layden interrogates Jason 1 again and realizes he's hiding something, so he reveals that they've kidnapped Ryan and forced him to share the story Jason told them at Daniela's. As Layden calls him an imposter, a furious Jason jumps across the table and attacks Layden, managing to punch him before the guards take him away. In another room, Dawn starts beating Jason 1 up and is ready to slit Jason's throat, but Layden makes her leave. Layden is frustrated because he doesn't know how to use the box, mentioning he wants to solve problems like cancer and world hunger. Jason 1 swears he doesn't know either and Layden leaves. Security throws Jason in a room with Ryan, who breaks down when he hears Daniela is dead. Ryan explains that Jason asked him to build a compound that alters the brain to put certain areas of it to sleep. Its goal is to allow the brain to comprehend going into superposition and seeing other worlds. As they discuss how the box may interact with it, the guards come to take Ryan away. In the other universe, Jason 2 is out shopping with Charlie and looks up the couple's friends on social media to learn more before an incoming dinner party. He's surprised to see one of them is Blair, the same woman who disappeared in his original world. On the night of the party, Jason too looks over his notes before greeting the guests. He chats with Blair, who is a lawyer in this world, and he's genuinely happy to see her well. Thanks to his research, he does well with everyone. Suddenly Ryan shows up and hugs Jason, apologizing for forcing the issue of the job offer, and they reconcile. After the party is over, later Jason 2 watches videos of Jason 1 and his family to learn more about their behavior. While looking through some old paperwork, he finds birth certificates for Charlie and a child that didn't make it. The next morning, Daniela finds the box with her son's ashes in the living room. She ends up opening an old box to look through her dead son's things. Back to Jason 1, he's suddenly woken up by Amanda, who has turned off the cameras and urgently tells him to leave with her. She also informs him Ryan is dead. They hide in a closet when someone passes by, then they take the elevator to the top floor, only to find Layton. Jason punches him and they close the elevator again. They go to the box room and Amanda discovers they froze her clearance, but Jason's password still works and they get inside at the same time the guards see them. Jason 1 rushes to grab the compound and enters the box with Amanda, closing the door just in time and cutting off Dawn's fingers in the process. They have 3 minutes before the door opens, so Jason has no choice but to bring Amanda with him. They inject themselves with Ryan's compound and they start feeling dizzy until they pass out. 3 minutes later, Jason and Amanda wake up and find themselves in an endless corridor. In the labs, chaos has taken over. A furious Layton announces he has nothing left in this world, so he takes some compound and enters the box. Meanwhile, the duo is running through the corridor and Jason 1 has already counted over 200 doors without an end in sight. He realizes their brains created this corridor because they are attempting to process something the human mind hasn't evolved to comprehend. They finally open a door at random and walk into a destroyed building covered in ash. When they go outside, they learn the entire world is a desolate wasteland. Suddenly the buildings in the city start collapsing, so the duo runs back inside while barely avoiding the debris behind them. They make it back to the box just in time and check their things, realizing the GPS is still working. They learn that the coordinates of the box can't change, meaning the box moves across universes but not across space. It's always on the same spot on every Earth. They take another injection and the corridor reappears while in another section of the corridor, Layton is looking for them to no avail. Eventually Jason 1 and Amanda open another door and find a world that is covered in trees and fog. After confirming it's the same coordinates, they close that door only to open it again. It's the same world out there, meaning a door will always take them to the same place. They open another door to find a world where the sun is hundreds of feet off the ground and there's no atmosphere, so Jason quickly closes it up. Amanda panics and runs away, but the corridor truly is infinite and she can't find the original exit. Next Jason 1 opens another door and finds the lab. For a moment they think they've made it back, however they see alternate versions of themselves who are soon found by Dawn. She shoots Amanda in the head and tases Jason down, so the original duo runs back into the box before they're seen. Afterward Jason tries to open several more doors. One takes them to a vicious ocean, the second appears deep underground, and the third one has werewolves. Door after door is open but they always end up showing them places out of nightmares. Amanda decides she's had enough and opens a door to a blizzard. She charges out into the snow and Jason 1 follows her to stop her. When they try to come back, they can't see the box because of the storm. They try to find shelter but eventually Amanda is too cold to move, so Jason has to carry her. He finds a house covered in snow and breaks the window to get inside, tucking Amanda into bed before looking around. The power and the tap water aren't working but he finds some matches, and soon a fire is warming up the room. In the corridor, Layton starts to panic so he finally opens a door. In the morning, the blizzard has stopped and Jason 1 comes out to see Chicago in the distance in a total ice age. Then he breaks some furniture to keep the fire going until Amanda feels better. She shares a skiing story about her childhood and admits she was thinking about it before she opened the door, making them realize that their thoughts control which universe the box takes them to. After putting on warm clothes they found in the house, the duo heads out and tries using the GPS, but it isn't working. Amanda realizes that since the box is always on the same spot, they can just use a normal compass for guidance. After walking for a while, they step on something hard and start digging to find the box under the snow, quickly getting inside. In another corner of the corridor, Layton is bruised and bloody but continues to walk. He opens a door to see the snow world from earlier, closes it, and keeps going. Meanwhile Jason 2 goes to work but he can't get his students to pay attention, so he throws a bottle into the corner. The breaking sound makes everyone shut up and Jason asks them to take out pen and paper for a pop quiz. Most of them don't bring that anymore, thus Jason says any person with only a device fails. The students start to protest and Jason changes his mind, walking away instead. On his way out a teacher asks him about the bottle but he only announces that he quits. Sometime later, Jason 2 visits Layton, who in this world never took over his family's company. They share a drink and Jason 2 realizes this Layton is a hedonist who lives off his trust fund and has random lovers sleeping on his couch. Jason 2 tells Layton he quit teaching and wants to get back to his old work while still spending more time with the family. Layton explains he's already invested in Ryan's company and can't help, so Jason announces he wants to show him something. The duo goes to the abandoned building and Jason too makes Layton take the compound. Then they go into the box and the corridor appears, so Jason too asks Layton to clear his mind for a few seconds before opening a door. In the meantime, it's Charlie's birthday but only Daniela is around for him. They light up a candle and Daniela shares the story of the son she lost, revealing he had been Charlie's twin and he had already been born sick, so he didn't live long. After looking around the corridor for a while, Jason too and Layton return to their world and Jason too tells him who he really is. He explains that he and the Layton in his world didn't go separate ways after college, so Layton is the only people Jason too trusts. Layton admits he'd give anything for a chance to start fresh. When Jason too gets home, Charlie is upset with him for missing his day, but Jason too distracts him with a present, Charlie's own car. Daniela is mad that Jason did this without consulting her and gets worse when he says he quit his job, however Jason too assures her they don't have to worry about money anymore. Back to Jason 1 and Amanda, he concentrates on his home before opening the door. Suddenly water bursts in and fills the box, causing it to sink in a world where water has taken over most of the land. Jason 1 swims quickly to close the door, and the water soon drains out. Jason admits he felt overwhelmed and under pressure before opening the door, that's why the box filled with water. He wants to try again already, but Amanda insists they take time to emotionally rebalance themselves. While they wring out their wet clothes, Jason 1 asks about the people who used the box before him. Amanda mentions Blair, who was the lead engineer, then Jason 2 followed by 2 clinical trial volunteers. The duo falls asleep and when they wake up, the effect of the compound has worn off. They're in the box instead of the corridor, so they open the door and find an abandoned version of the lab. Since they need food, they start searching the room, only to find the doors locked. Amanda says they had safeguards in place in case dangerous things came out of the box. The elevator isn't working either, but eventually they find an unlocked bedroom. They check the bed only to discover a rotting body under the blankets. At that moment they hear a noise so they rush back, but there's someone wandering in the lab. The duo tries hiding but the person approaches them with a gun, revealing to be Blair. After a warm reunion, they tell Blair everything and she takes them to the observation deck where she's set up her living space. SHR explains she's been living there for 3 months and there was no power when she arrived, but she got the emergency generators working and accessed the system. Security footage shows them that a year ago, another Blair came out of the box and was killed by the giant locust wasps that have taken over this world. While showing them the huge body of a dead wasp, Blair says she's gone out for supply runs but the wasps devour everything they can. Amanda doesn't understand why Blair is still here and Blair snaps, revealing she's terrified to go back into the box. After having some food, Jason 1 and Amanda announce they'll go back into the box. Blair turns down their offer to come along and gives them her notes before they leave. In the box, Amanda feels guilty for not training Blair enough and Jason 1 hugs her. Then they take more compound while Amanda points out she can't understand how Jason 2 is so different from 1. Jason 1 explains that if he had given up the love of his life for science he would be bitter too. This time Jason 1 tries writing about the world he wants to visit before opening a door. They appear in the abandoned building and Jason gets excited, especially when they go outside and see a normal-looking Chicago. However, when they take the streets, they see the city is empty. They drive to his house and an alternate Daniela opens it, revealing she's very sick. She says the authorities had taken Jason away and told her he died. He asks about Charlie only to learn he's dead in his room. At that moment the authorities show up and point their guns at Jason 1 and Amanda for not respecting quarantine. The doctors test them and confirm the duo isn't infected, but they say there's no hope for Daniela. Before leaving, they give Jason some medicine so he can euthanize her. Daniela has a breakdown when she hears the news but after they reminiscence over the old times, she tells him to do it. Jason 1 helps his wife die, then he goes back into the box with Amanda, who comforts him as he cries. After a nap, Amanda mentions that they may have ended up in that world because Jason 1 is scared of losing his family to an illness like he lost his mom. This means they must control their subconscious too. Soon they try again and this time Chicago looks normal. Jason 1 enters his house and grabs a knife from the kitchen, fearing Jason 2 may be around. He opens the door to the bathroom and startles Daniela, so he drops the knife to prove he means no harm. However, Daniel picks the knife up and rushes to call 911, telling the operator that her ex-husband is supposed to be in prison but he's shown up at her house. Suddenly Charlie tackles Jason to the ground and tries to fight him, but Jason 1 pushes him off. He tells them he made a mistake and apologizes as Charlie yells at him, telling him to get out. Hearing the police sirens in the distance, Jason 1 runs out and hides with Amanda. They need to stay in a safe place until the police are gone, so Amanda takes him to a friend's house. The woman is terrified to see Amanda and Jason discovers a memorial picture in her name because she's dead in this world. Amanda pretends to be a ghost and tells the woman she's in a good happy place, then they leave in the woman's car. Meanwhile Jason 2 takes Layton to the box again and tells him about the different worlds he's seen. This time Jason explains how to take the compound so Layton can do it himself and they return to the corridor. They open some random doors just to peek while Jason points out they don't have access to the entire multiverse, just worlds that split off from theirs. They stop at a beautiful beach to admit the scenery before they finally head back. Jason too admits he doesn't have much compound left, only for Layton to interrupt him saying he'll pay him lots of money for all the compound he has after his training is done. Sometime later, Jason too walks out of the box and appears in his original lab. While he steals more compound, he notices blood on the ground. The employee guarding this area tells him that another Jason appeared, but he left with Amanda and Layton follow them, and the blood is Dawn's. Without another word, Jason too leaves and reunites with Layton, showing him all the compound he can sell to him. However, he also announces that after Layton finally leaves, he'll seal the box on this world so Jason 1 can't find him. A few days later, Jason 2 meets with Layton again and they finally seal the deal. Layton takes the compound and leaves into the box to never come back. Afterward, Jason picks up Charlie and shares some ice cream with him. Suddenly Charlie starts coughing. It turns out he has an allergic reaction to the nuts in the ice cream. Jason pulls over and searches the bag until he finally finds an EpiPen to help his son. Afterward, he takes him to the hospital and Daniela shows up, scolding her husband for forgetting something so important. Because of the incident, Jason has forgotten to roll down his sleeves and Daniela notices the marks left by the compound injection. When they return home, she notices he's flossing, which he's never done before. In the meantime, Jason 1 and Amanda make it to a world with a beautiful forest and Jason takes as many notes as possible. He writes the names of places he loves from his town and they try a bunch of different doors, but none of them are exactly as Chicago. After dozens of failed tries, they decide they need a break. They check into a hotel and have a nice dinner while trying to have a discussion about what components make each person what they really are. However, the music is too loud to chat and they end up dancing instead. Later in their room, Jason accidentally hugs Amanda while she sleeps, waking her up. Amanda then admits she feels like her world is vanishing and they decide not to sleep in the same space. Sometime later they stop at another world and Amanda announces she needs a day to herself, so they can meet back at the box tonight. Jason 1 goes to a small art gallery and finds Daniela with blonde hair. They talk about her paintings and Jason asks Daniela to grab a coffee with him, but she turns him down so he leaves. Amanda watches another version of herself who is married and has a child. That night the duo reunites and realizes they don't have much compound left. At the next world, they check in another hotel and Jason leaves to go get food. Instead, he stands in the rain outside his old house watching another version of himself dance with Daniela. He takes a while to come back and a furious Amanda pushes him for worrying her. Jason 1 explains he watched his family here and thinks they're getting closer. However, Amanda points out they need to think of a new plan before the compound runs out. Back to Jason 2, he decides to go to therapy and his doctor is Amanda, who is a normal therapist in this world. Jason says he is everything yet he doesn't feel fulfilled, so Amanda points out he may be idealizing some things too much. People expect perfection and get disappointed when they don't get it. At home, Daniela talks to Blair about her worries for this new version of Jason, but Blair just hears that he's hotter, cleaner, and richer. Daniela also mentions the marks on Jason's arm, and Blair says not to confront him because he'll lie. Instead, she recommends that Daniela follow Jason around. That night, Jason 2 blindfolds Daniela and takes her to an art charity auction. He surprises her by showing he's donated the painting she made in private, and this upsets Daniela so much that she asks to leave. During the car ride home, Jason says he doesn't understand what he did wrong. Daniela explains she's humiliated because he took her painting without her permission and took her somewhere everyone knows her in a dress that she hates. She admits she's still trying to figure out if she wants to paint anymore and Jason says maybe she just isn't who he thought she was. After dropping off Daniela at home, he drives off, unaware she gets in her car and follows him. Minutes later, Daniela watches Jason 2 go into his old storage unit and leave after a few seconds. She tries to get in after him but it's locked, so she peeks under the door and manages to grab a compound sample. She immediately takes it to Ryan and asks him to discover what it is. The next day Jason 2 goes to see Amanda, who understands how Daniela felt. Jason says he wants to leave and when Amanda asks where, he describes the corridor. Amanda thinks it's metaphor and says it indicates a fear of commitment. He may be a married man, but he doesn't act like it. When Jason goes home he's confronted by Ryan, who takes out the compound sample and says Jason stole it from him. Jason takes him to the bar and explains this isn't the same compound because this one is already finished. Afterward Jason 2 shows Ryan the box and they both take the compound before going in. Jason explains everything about the multiverse and makes an excited Ryan calm down before opening a door. They come out into a kind version of Chicago where a huge aurora lights up the sky. Jason then takes Ryan's phone with the excuse of taking a picture and Ryan realizes this isn't his original friend, so he tries running back into the box. However, Jason 2 closes the door, leaving him outside. When Jason 2 returns, he sees that Ryan's phone is ringing with a call from Daniela. He immediately hires a construction crew to cover the box in a larger container of concrete. As days pass, Daniela keeps texting Ryan to no avail. One afternoon, the detective Mason of this world shows up at their house and informs them Ryan is missing. Jason tells her about their visit to the bar and that he went home after their drink, so he knows nothing. After Mason leaves, Daniela confronts Jason too about the compound sample, admitting that she followed him. Jason tells her it's not an upper, it's a scientific experiment created by Ryan, making up a lie about him being under a secrecy contract. Daniela asks him to stop taking it and Jason promises to do so. She also asks about the storage unit, and Jason says it's full of stuff from his special project. Meanwhile in the corridor, Amanda points out they've been in a constant state of fight or flight for almost a month, so they need a break. She opens a door and finds a utopian and futuristic Chicago. They walk through the city and learn it runs on cold fusion reactors. Amanda reveals she got them to this world by thinking about a place where people agree on basic facts, technology doesn't destroy everything, and everyone has empathy. After looking around, they go to a bar and a couple in another table takes a picture of them before they split for the day. Later they have dinner at a fancy restaurant and Amanda says she looked up this world's versions of them. Alternate Jason sells insurance while alternate Amanda went missing 2 years ago and she has no family left. Amanda announces she's got a new passport thanks to retinal scan technology and she has the other Amanda's money, so she's decided to stay here. She asks Jason to stay, but he turns her down and offers to leave her some compound in case of an emergency. However, Amanda turns him down too, saying she's probably what is holding him back from finding his family. They say goodbye with an embrace and Jason secretly slips 2 compound samples into her bag. Afterward Jason 1 goes back to the box and notices he only has 3 compound samples left. His next trip takes him to a burned down version of his house, so he tries again. In this new world Jason manages to call the alternate Daniela from a prepaid phone and has a nice talk with her even though she isn't his Daniela. While he walks away, he sees the mask Jason 2 wore and starts considering some ideas. That night, Jason 1 enters his house and watches Daniela sleep with his other self, but he doesn't dare destroy the family and leaves the bedroom. When he reaches the kitchen he has a panic attack on the floor. At that moment he's found by Max, the son who died in his world. Thinking this is his dad, Max makes small talk and admits he knows how much of a disappointment he is to Jason, who hugs him to comfort him. However, he fails to say the right thing because Max is going through some stuff, so the boy runs back to his room and Jason 1 leaves. Back to Jason 2, he goes to visit Amanda again and tells her that Daniela acted behind his back. He says he's thinking of leaving and Amanda tells him he's running from himself more than the situation. Jason responds that he wants to know more about Amanda and she says no, but Jason 2 starts mentioning a bunch of things about her anyway. Upset by this stranger knowing so much about her, Amanda kicks him out. When he gets home, he finds Mason at his door. She explains they got a ping on Ryan's phone in an industrial area of Chicago after he left the bar and asks if Jason went there with him, but he says no. Jason pretends he knows nothing until Mason gets tired and leaves. Afterward Jason returns to the box and hits it with a sledgehammer to tear down the concrete. He immediately travels to another world and finds an alternate Ryan that has a horrible life and doesn't even know Jason, who is using a fake name. Jason 2 keeps buying drinks and moments later he brings that very drunk Ryan to his world. Ryan throws up and can barely move, so Jason has to help him get to this world's Ryan's apartment. He showers him and cuts his hair, leaving him in bed as the replacement. In the corridor, Jason 1 takes the last compound and writes about his first memory of Daniela with lots of deep feelings. Then he opens the door and comes out to find the concrete surrounding the box. There's an empty compound sample on the ground, which gives him hope. Next Jason 1 goes to the bar and the bartender recognizes him, so he hugs him in excitement. Then he runs to his home and peeks inside through the back door, seeing Daniel and Charlie together. At that moment Jason 2 comes back and tells his family that they found Ryan at a bar after he went on a 3-day bender. Determined to get his family back, Jason goes to a sporting store and tries to buy a handgun for home defense, but he doesn't have a firearm owner's card. Instead he ends up buying pepper spray and a knife. Seconds later, Jason comes in and opens the conversation with exactly the same phrase, so the clerk calls him out on it. This freaks him out and it's revealed this is the real Jason 1, meaning there are more Jasons running around the Chicago. At home, Jason 2 takes the garbage out and gets jumped by another Jason. A fight ensues and the men fall to the ground as the knife from the store comes out. After lots of struggle, Jason 2 manages to overpower him, bites his arm, and repeatedly hits the guy's head on the ground until he's dead. Then he drags the body to his house and hurries to cover it up before Charlie can see it. Meanwhile Daniela visits Ryan, who is still puking in the toilet. He recognizes Daniela as one of the clients from the garage he works in and says the last thing he remembers is being at the bar with some stranger feeding him drinks. Daniela shows him a picture of Jason and Ryan confirms that's the stranger. At the local hotel, Jason 1 gets his new knife and gets ready for action, only to find another Jason in the corridor. They lock eyes and each go in opposite directions as Jason 1 walks back out to the street, noticing yet another Jason is following him. Scared, Jason 1 runs through the traffic and hides in the bar, so the other Jason keeps on walking without noticing. There's a Jason already there, so Jason 1 sits with him and they share a drink. This new Jason comes from a reality in which Amanda died in a very dark world. Neither of them has any compound left and they agree they should kill Jason 2. This Jason does have a gun and leaves alone. The next day, Jason 1 goes to a small diner and starts smoking a cigar. Everyone complains but he just ignores them. Eventually Dawn, who is a cop here, comes to arrest him for disturbing the peace. Meanwhile Daniela asks Jason 2 to take Charlie to school and Jason chooses the old car instead of the brand new gift because the body is inside. Then Jason takes Charlie on a tour of his old university, where he notices another Jason following them and he tries to get away. He and Charlie go into the library, but alternate Jason is still following them so Jason 2 decides to split and tells his son to escape on the car. Now Jason 2 starts running and goes upstairs, wandering around the shelves to try to lose his pursuer. When alternate Jason checks the bathroom door, number 2 uses the chance to tackle him and triggers a fight. The men throw each other all over the room and alternate Jason takes out his knife, so 2 hits his arm on the sink to disarm him. Next Jason 2 grabs the guy by the neck and chokes him until he passes out. After taking the knife, he hides the body in a stall and locks it up. In the meantime Charlie tries to leave in the car, but he has to stop when a tire malfunctions. At that moment he's approached by the police, who asks for papers. Thankfully Jason 2 comes back just in time to save the situation. At the same time Daniela goes back to the storage unit, uses bolt cutters to get in, and finds another phone with pictures of their family, bags of strange-looking cash, and more compound samples. There's also a mechanic uniform with Ryan's name on it. Suddenly her phone rings and it's from a no-caller ID number. Moments later, she's paying to free Jason 1 from jail. She cries as she says she's tired of lies, so Jason 1 tells her everything about the box and the multiverse. When she doesn't believe him, he tells her to call Jason 2, and she's shocked to hear him on the phone. Daniela asks a question about their last vacation and Jason 2 gets it wrong, proving the story. Jason 1 warns her about other Jasons and they agree to use the word Jupiter as a safe word to meet later. When Daniela gets home, she tries calling Charlie before going inside, but he won't answer. Daniela goes inside and finds Jason 2 packing. He explains the family needs to leave because he's in trouble, promising to explain later. For now Daniela plays along and pretends to search for a suitcase while texting Charlie, letting him know they're in danger and to wait outside. Then Daniela asks Jason to help her get a suitcase from the basement and pushes him down the stairs. Afterward she runs outside to reunite with Charlie, but before they can leave they're found by another Jason. They get in a car with him and he starts explaining everything from the beginning, making Daniela realize this isn't the same Jason from jail. Before she can react, they're hit by another car and they crash. The other car also has a Jason, so Daniela drags Charlie out and they run away. Soon they reach the bean and a Jason is waiting there. They confirm their identities with the word Jupiter and Jason 1 finally gets to hug his son. At the house, Jason 2 is found by another copy, who demands to know where his family is. Jason 2 tells him what happened and that he doesn't know where the family is, so the other Jason starts beating him up. In the meantime, Jason 1 is taking his family out of town. Daniela and Charlie start getting lots of messages from all the Jasons, so they turn their phones off. Jason 1 explains he had thought he would only be dealing with number 2, and now he doesn't know what to do. Charlie announces he has an idea. That night, they make it to a house in the woods. It belongs to a friend of Charlie's, so he knows how to find the hidden key and the code to shut off the alarm. The family agrees to spend the night there and they lock all doors and windows. After Daniela and Charlie go to bed, Jason 1 uses the computer to check his email and finds a new folder labeled Entanglement. He clicks on the link and enters a chat room with over 100 Jasons who share details of what the family is doing. Some of them send videos explaining why he's the Jason that deserves Daniela, and others send Jason 1 private messages asking him to team up. Then he hears a noise and checks the garden, but he doesn't see anything. Just in case he grabs a fire poker and sits on a chair that offers a view from the outside. At home, alternate Jason tries to track down his family, but they're not using credit cards, phones, or buying tickets. Then he gets his phone and reveals he's been chatting with Blair. While he waits, he tells a restrained Jason 2 that his Daniela and Ryan were killed by Dawn, and his Amanda died impaled by a large tree branch. The other Jason also shows him the chat room, but their conversation is interrupted by a text from Blair saying she'll be there soon. When she arrives, she finds blood and tape on the steps, so she goes upstairs. Suddenly Blair hears a noise and follows it to find Jason 2 tied up in the closet. Then the other Jason appears behind her and asks her to track her car. Blair freaks out and attacks him so she can run away, but other Jason shoots his gun to make her stop. Blair pretends to cooperate, but when she's close enough, she throws pepper spray in his face and takes the gun. Holding both Jasons at gunpoint, she demands an explanation. Later that night, Daniela checks the chat room on the computer out of curiosity. After saying goodnight to Charlie, the couple gets dirty in their room. Once they're done, Daniela informs Jason that she told the others that she chose him. When Jason 1 goes to the kitchen for water, he sees someone running outside. He immediately grabs the fire poker and comes out to discover the tires on the car have been slashed. Suddenly he hears a Jason scream, so Jason 1 runs into the woods and finds a copy almost dead, saying another Jason did this to him. At that moment a different Jason runs toward them, but he gets shot by a copy in the shadows. Terrified, Jason 1 runs back into the house and finds a guy already there with a shotgun. When he comes closer, Jason 1 jumps on him but his alternate self overpowers him and starts beating him up. At that moment he falls dead because Jason 2 has appeared and shot him. When Daniela and Charlie come downstairs, Jason 2 puts down his gun and apologizes for the mess he caused. Charlie punches him in fury but Jason 2 keeps talking, explaining the other Jasons had a tracker on the car. Suddenly they hear screaming and yelling outside as more copies keep on arriving. Then Jason 2 gives 1 his wedding ring back and his car keys, telling the family to leave. The family gets in the car and drives off. A copy tries blocking their path with open fire, but Jason just runs over him and keeps going. As they escape, Charlie finds a box full of compound and the box with Max's ashes. There's also a phone with a recording from Jason 2, who explains he started everything because he had been full of regret and envy. Sometime later the family returns to the city and go to the box room, where all the Jasons are waiting. The leader explains they don't want to stop them, they just realize the only way for them to have a normal life is to leave this world, so they're saying goodbye. One of the Jasons tries to protest, but the leader shuts him up, reminding him Daniela and Charlie are the ones who get to choose. After some hesitation, the Jasons move aside and the family enters the box. They all take the compound and cross a door to find a new home. Meanwhile the others have happy lives in their new worlds. Ryan keeps on inventing and finds the Amanda of that universe to befriend her. Original Amanda is shining in utopian Chicago. Blair finally gets back in the box, and Layton is still having fun visiting hundreds of universes. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.